The people who retire at 35 are not the ones who saved 50% of their income for 20 years. They're not the ones who gave up coffee, canceled Netflix, and ate rice and beans until they turned 40. In fact, most people who try to do that quit within 3 years. So if extreme saving isn't the answer, what actually got thousands of ordinary Americans to retire before 40? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know the exact number most people get wrong and why chasing it the normal way might cost you an extra 10 years of your life. This is Dollar Sense. Let's get into it. Act 1: The myth. Here's the FIRE movement as most people know it. Financial independence. Retire early. Save aggressively. Sometimes 50, 60, even 70% of your income. Invest it, and once your portfolio hits 25 times your yearly expenses, you're free. You quit your job. You never work again. Sounds great on paper. Influencers online make it look simple. Cut your expenses, live in a tiny apartment, skip vacations, pack your lunch, and boom, financial freedom by 35. But here's the part nobody puts in the thumbnail. A large share of people who attempt this burn out. Not because the math is wrong. The math is fine, but because the method is brutal. You can't out-discipline a bad strategy. Saving 70% of a modest income for 2 straight decades isn't a financial plan. It's an endurance test. And most humans aren't built to run a 20-year marathon on willpower alone. The real problem with mainstream FIRE advice is that it treats income as fixed and savings rate as the only lever. Cut the lattes. Cancel the subscriptions. Move to a cheaper apartment. That's the entire strategy for a lot of people chasing this dream. And it explains why so many give up. Because here's the truth. You cannot cut your way to financial independence. You can only build your way there. So if cutting expenses isn't the real engine behind early retirement, what is? There's a number most FIRE calculators get wrong. And once you see it, you'll never calculate your freedom number the same way again. Act 2: The real path. Part 1: The 3 FIREs. Most people think FIRE is one single goal. It's not. There are at least 3 distinct versions, and picking the wrong one is why so many people either quit too early or delay their freedom by years. Lean FIRE is the version most people picture. Extreme minimalism, a stripped-down budget, retiring on maybe $25,000 to $30,000 a year. It's achievable fast, but it's fragile. One medical bill, one bad year in the market, and the whole plan cracks. Fat FIRE is the opposite extreme. Retiring with a much larger nest egg, enough to maintain a comfortable, even upscale lifestyle. It takes longer to reach, but it's far more resilient. Then there's the one almost nobody talks about, Coast FIRE. This is the version that actually works for most ordinary people, because it doesn't require you to quit your job at all. Coast FIRE means you've saved enough, early enough, that compound growth alone will carry your investments to full retirement age, without adding another dollar. You're not retiring at 35. You're just coasting. You can downshift to a lower stress job, work part-time, start a business with no financial pressure, because your future is already funded. This is the version that quietly built more early retirements than any extreme saving spreadsheet ever did. Not because it's flashy, but because it's sustainable. And sustainable beats extreme every single time over a 20-year horizon. But here's where it gets interesting. Because the number everyone uses to calculate their FIRE goal has a hidden flaw. And if you don't fix it, you could retire early and still run out of money. Act 2 Part 2 The number everyone gets wrong. The standard formula is the 25x rule. Save 25 times your annual expenses, withdraw 4% a year, and theoretically your money lasts forever. It comes from a study using historical market data, and for decades it's been treated like gospel in the FIRE community. Here's the flaw. That 4% number was calculated using market conditions from the past, different inflation, different interest rates, different life expectancy. Retire today, and you might be looking at 40, even 50 years of retirement if you stop working at 35. That same withdrawal rate that worked for a 30-year retirement window starts looking a lot riskier over 50 years. There's also something the calculators don't factor in: healthcare. In the US, once you leave a job, you lose employer-sponsored insurance. Early retirees routinely underestimate healthcare costs by tens of thousands of dollars over a decade because they were budgeting for their current employer-subsidized premium, not the real cost of private insurance in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. So the real FIRE number isn't just expenses times 25. It's expenses plus a healthcare buffer, plus a longer withdrawal runway, plus a plan for sequence of returns risk, the danger of a market crash hitting right as you retire, and gutting your portfolio before it has time to recover. This is why so many people who technically hit their number on paper go back to work within 5 years. Now here's the part that separates the people who actually retire early from the ones who just dream about it. It has almost nothing to do with saving more. Act 3 The Asset Building Shift. Every person who's reached real financial independence young shares one thing in common, and it's not frugality. It's that at some point, they stopped trading time for money and started building things that make money without them. That's the entire difference between earned income and asset income. A salary stops the moment you stop showing up. An asset, a rental property, a dividend portfolio, a small business, a stake in something that compounds, keeps paying whether you show up or not. The realistic path looks like this. Keep your job, because a stable income is your fuel, not your enemy. But instead of pouring 100% of your extra savings into a retirement account you can't touch for 30 years, start directing a portion into income-generating assets, index funds for long-term compounding, then eventually real assets that produce cash flow. This is also where Coast FIRE and asset building meet. Once your invested assets are large enough to compound on their own, every extra dollar you earn from other sources, a side project, a small rental, a stake in a business, isn't going toward survival anymore. It's going toward acceleration. That's the shift. That's what actually gets people out at 35, 38, 40, not a spreadsheet telling them to skip their morning coffee for 20 years. The uncomfortable truth is this: FIRE was never really about retiring early. It was about building a financial floor strong enough that work becomes optional. Some people who reach that point keep working anyway, because now they're doing it by choice, not necessity. That's the actual finish line. Not sitting on a beach at 35 doing nothing. Having the power to say no. So here's where that leaves you. If you're chasing FIRE using nothing but the extreme savings playbook, you're playing the hardest possible version of this game. The real path isn't more sacrifice. It's a shift from earned income to asset income, a realistic number that accounts for healthcare and longevity, and picking the version of FIRE, lean, fat, or coast that actually fits your life instead of someone else's Instagram post. But there's one more number in this whole equation that almost nobody calculates. The number that tells you exactly how many years asset building could shave off your timeline compared to saving alone. And that number might surprise you more than anything else in this video. If you want to see exactly how that's calculated, that's the next video going up on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed, because you don't want to miss it. If this gave you a different way to think about financial independence, hit subscribe. $Sense breaks down the real math behind money every week. No fluff, no filler. Drop a comment. Lean, fat, or coast FIRE? Which one are you actually building toward? See you in the next one.